A distress signal in the void. The Galactic Council station hovered in deep space, its massive structure filled with diplomats, admirals, and bureaucrats. The hall was filled with alien representatives from different species, Velthans, Silari, Othari, and more. A single red warning light flashed on the central holo display. A transmission was coming in, but the signal was unfamiliar, unregistered in the Council's database. Councillor Vornak, a high-ranking Silari official, narrowed his reptilian eyes. Where is this signal coming from? A technician hesitated. Unknown system, sir, deep in the uncharted regions. But the signature, it's. The screen flickered. The room fell silent. On the display, an alien fleet was in chaos. Fires raged across the hulls of damaged warships, and the terrified voice of an alien captain echoed through the chamber. This is Admiral Coloris of the Joran fleet. We made first contact with an unknown species. The assembly leaned in. We thought they were primitive. We thought they were weak. We were wrong. The signal crackled, but the last words were clear. They sent a single warship, just one. And we never stood a chance. Static. Silence. Then the transmission cut out completely. The Joran Empire's mistake. 12 hours earlier, the Joran Empire, a mid-level spacefaring civilization, had always seen themselves as strong. Their navy was powerful, their technology advanced, and their warriors feared across the outer rim. They had expanded for centuries, conquering weaker species, bending them to their rule. So when their long-range scanners detected a lone ship drifting into their claimed space, they laughed. Another lost species, scoffed Admiral Coloris as he watched the single, unfamiliar vessel approach. The Joran warships, 12 in total, surrounded the intruder, their weapons locked on. A message was sent. Unidentified vessel. This is Joran Imperial space. You are trespassing. Power down immediately or be destroyed. They expected surrender. Instead, they received a response. The screen flickered, revealing a human officer standing on the bridge of the mysterious ship. His uniform was black, his insignia unfamiliar. His blue eyes were cold, unreadable. This is Captain Elias Voss of the UNS Nemesis. A pause. Your warning is acknowledged. Another pause. We do not comply. And then, without warning, the Nemesis opened fire. A battleship unlike any other. The Joran fleet had faced many enemies before, but never like this. The Nemesis, a Terran Dread-Class Battleship, was unlike any warship the Jorans had ever seen. Joran plasma cannons fired first, but the human ship's kinetic shielding absorbed the hits like raindrops against a mountain. The Nemesis moved fast, much faster than something that size should, its massive thrusters flaring with blue energy, dodging incoming torpedoes with ease. Then the human railguns fired, each round the size of a building, moving at speeds that ripped through Joran cruisers like paper. In seconds, 3 Joran ships were nothing but debris. Impossible, Admiral Coloris shouted. Focus fire, overload their shields. But the Nemesis wasn't using shields. It was armored in a way the Jorans didn't understand. Their energy weapons barely scorched its hull. Aboard the Nemesis, Captain Voss watched. He had studied the Jorans, their tactics, their arrogance. They think they're the hunters, he muttered. But they're just prey. He turned to his weapons officer. Full broadside. Fire. A warship that shouldn't exist. The Nemesis unleashed its true power. Hundreds of missile pods emerged from its hull, each one locking onto a Joran target. In one coordinated strike, the missiles detonated, creating fireballs large enough to be seen from the Joran homeworld. The surviving Joran ships tried to flee, but the Nemesis did not let them. It jumped forward, moving with impossible speed, cutting off their escape route. One Joran captain panicked. We surrender. We surrender. The response from the Nemesis was chilling. Not accepted. The final railgun salvo turned the last Joran vessel into dust. Admiral Colaris, now on his damaged flagship, stared in horror. A single ship had annihilated his entire fleet. He knew then that his empire was doomed. He activated his distress beacon, sending the message to the Galactic Council, to anyone who would listen. But deep down, he knew no one would come to save them. The last thing he saw before the Nemesis fired one final shot was the Terran insignia on its hull, a single emblem that the galaxy would soon learn to fear. Galactic Council response. The beginning of a new era. Back in the Galactic Council station, the assembly sat in stunned silence. They had laughed at humans before. They had mocked their slow rise into space. Now, they were terrified. A single ship, one counselor whispered. They only sent one. The Velthan diplomat, who had always warned that humans were different, nodded grimly. And they destroyed an entire fleet. A hush fell over the chamber. Counselor Vornak, his hands shaking, looked around. We have to act. We have to contain them before it's too late. The room erupted into chaos. For the first time, the Galactic Council faced a terrifying realization. Humanity was not just another species. They were something else. Something the galaxy had never seen before. And they were coming. Galactic Council. The emergency meeting. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species filled the vast chamber, their voices overlapping in panic. The destruction of the Joran fleet was supposed to be impossible. Yet, it had happened. A single human warship had done what entire empires had failed to do. Counselor Vornak of the Celery Empire slammed his clawed fist onto the table. We must act now. Ambassador Thorak of the Velthan Confederacy leaned forward, his glowing eyes narrowed. And do what? Declare war. Do you want to see what happens when they send more than one ship? A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, the Speaker of the Council, High Chancellor Oral, spoke. We need more information. We need to understand what humanity truly is. No one argued, because they all feared the answer. Aboard the UNS Nemesis, the captain's warning. The UNS Nemesis hovered over the ruined remains of the Joran fleet. Scattered wreckage floated in the void, the shattered remains of what was once a proud Imperial Navy. Captain Elias Voss stood on the bridge, watching the aftermath. His hands were clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. Commander Sarah Holt approached. The Joran distress signal reached the Galactic Council. Voss nodded. Good. Let them know what we're capable of. Holt hesitated. Sir, if the Council sees us as a threat, they might act against us. Voss turned to face her. His gaze was cold, steady. Then let them try. She swallowed hard. And if they don't? Voss smiled slightly. Then we have their attention. And that's the first step. He pressed a command on the holoconsole. Open a channel to the Joran homeworld. The Joran homeworld. A message of fear. Deep in the Joran capital, Emperor Luthis sat in his throne room, his face pale as the human transmission appeared before him. Captain Voss's image flickered onto the grand display, his posture relaxed, but his eyes sharp as a blade. This is Captain Elias Voss of the UNS Nemesis. The Emperor's voice trembled. We did not know what you were. Voss tilted his head. Now you do. Silence. Then Voss spoke again. This war is over. You will not send more ships against us. You will not seek revenge. The Emperor hesitated. And if we do? Voss's expression did not change. Then we send a second ship. The meaning was clear. The screen went dark, leaving the Emperor shaken. The Joran Empire had faced many enemies, but never like this. Aboard the Galactic Council command ship, the unthinkable plan. Counselor Vornak paced the war room, his claws tapping against the metal floor. We cannot allow this to continue. Humanity is a danger to us all. Ambassador Thorak sighed. They only acted after the Jorans threatened them. This was a warning, not an invasion. Vornak scoffed. You think they will stop at just one battle? Their power is unchecked. We must strike before they become unstoppable. The council split into factions. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to prepare for war. Some wanted to do nothing and wait. But there was one faction that had a different idea. One that believed the only way to stop humanity was to turn their own power against them. And so, in the shadows of the council, a secret plan was set in motion. A plan to steal the technology of the Nemesis, to uncover the secrets of humanity's warships, and to ensure that the galaxy would never again tremble at the name of Earth. Aboard the UNS Nemesis, the Council's betrayal. Aboard the Nemesis, alarms blared. Intruder alert. Voss turned sharply. Report. Holt's voice was urgent. A cloaked ship just entered our perimeter. They're sending drones toward our hull. Voss's jaw tightened. The Council. They had come not with warships, not with diplomacy, but with thieves. They thought they could steal humanity's strength. They had no idea what they had just awakened. Voss turned toward his officers, his voice low and cold. Target their ship. No survivors. The first strike. And the retaliation. The Galactic Council's stealth team never stood a chance. As soon as they attached their drones to the Nemesis, a pulse wave erupted from the ship's hull, disabling all cloaked vessels within the system. In seconds, the Nemesis' defensive AI systems detected, tracked, and eliminated the infiltrators. And then, the Nemesis returned fire. A single railgun round, just one, was all it took to destroy the Council's warship, reducing it to nothing but debris. The message was clear. Humanity was watching. And if the Council dared to act against them again, they would not be so merciful next time. A message to the galaxy. The next day, the Galactic Council received another transmission from Earth. Captain Elias Voss appeared once more, his expression as unreadable as ever. This is our only warning. His voice carried across the stars. We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. But if you come for us, if you try to take what is ours, a long pause, then we will teach you why Earth was called a death world. The transmission ended. The galaxy was now divided. Some feared what was coming. Some prepared for revenge. But one thing was certain. Humanity was no longer a species to ignore. The Galactic Council's last attempt. Panic filled the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council. The destruction of the Council's warship at the hands of the UNS Nemesis had shattered the illusion of galactic power. Humanity, once seen as a minor species, had now proven itself to be unstoppable. Councillor Vornak stood at the center of the chamber, his voice sharp with rage. We must strike now. If we do nothing, humanity will reshape the galaxy in their image. Ambassador Thorak of the Velthan Confederacy shook his head. If we fight them, we will lose. We all saw what they did to the Jorans. The Nemesis is just one ship. What happens if they send an entire fleet? The chamber fell into uneasy silence. We cannot afford war, whispered Chancellor Oral, the leader of the council. Vornak bared his teeth. Then what do you propose? That we bow to them? Oral took a deep breath. We do not bow. He looked at the assembled representatives. We negotiate. Aboard the UNS Nemesis, humanity's next move. Captain Elias Voss stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, his gaze fixed on the holographic star map. The Galactic Council had finally sent a response. Not another attack, not another fleet, but an invitation, a summit, an attempt at diplomacy. Commander Sarah Holt frowned. They went from trying to kill us to wanting peace in less than a week. That's desperation. Voss nodded. They're afraid. They've realized that fighting us is suicide. Holt crossed her arms. And what do? Do we accept? Voss's eyes narrowed. We go. The meeting. Humanity faces the galaxy. The Council's summit was held on Area 5, a neutral world chosen to ensure no empire had an advantage. A massive circular chamber, built from gleaming silver and glass, stood at the center of the capital city. For the first time in history, a human delegation stepped into the Grand Assembly Hall. Voss led the Terran delegation, flanked by elite Terran Marines in black exosuits, their presence a reminder that humanity did not trust the Council's goodwill. Across the room, hundreds of alien leaders watched, whispering in hushed voices as Voss and his team took their seats. The Chancellor of the Council, Orel, stood. Captain Voss, humanity, you have shaken the foundations of this galaxy. Voss leaned forward. We noticed. Orel sighed. The Council is prepared to acknowledge your strength. We offer peace if you will agree to certain restrictions. Voss raised an eyebrow. Restrictions. Vornak, the Stellari counselor, sneered. Your fleet cannot expand unchecked. Your warships cannot threaten galactic security. And your technology must be regulated. The chamber fell silent. The entire room felt the weight of Voss's stare. Then he spoke. You're afraid of us. Vornak bared his teeth. We are concerned about balance. Voss smiled coldly. The balance you speak of is an illusion. The moment you turned away from the Velari, you proved you don't care about peace. You only care about control. The counselors shifted uneasily. You left the weak to die, Voss continued. We did what you refused to do. And now, because we did not kneel to your authority, you want to place restrictions on us. Orel hesitated. We. Voss cut him off. No. Stunned silence. Humanity does not ask permission to exist. We do not seek war, but if you attempt to chain us, you will learn that we do not break. Vornak slammed his fist onto the table. You threaten the entire galactic order. Voss stood. No, we have simply proven that you were never truly in control. He glanced around the room. This is not an empire anymore. The Galactic Council does not rule the stars. The balance has already shifted. Orel met his gaze. Then what do you propose? Voss smiled. We don't want to rule. We don't want to conquer. But from now on, if you threaten the weak, if you attempt to wipe out another species, we will be there. The counselors exchanged nervous glances. Then we have an understanding, Orel finally said. Voss nodded. Yes, we do. And with that, humanity claimed its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as something far more terrifying, a species that would never kneel. A new order, the aftermath of first contact. The summit ended, but the galaxy would never be the same. The Joran Empire collapsed, its leaders overthrown, its people choosing to rebuild rather than continue their wars. The Velari became humanity's first true allies, their worlds now protected under an unspoken Terran defense pact. The Galactic Council shifted from rulers to diplomats, forced to acknowledge that they were no longer the only power in the galaxy. And humanity. They did not expand like conquerors. They did not demand tribute. Instead, they watched. They waited. And they made sure that never again would the galaxy turn its back on those who needed help. Final transmission from Earth. A new message was broadcast across the stars. Not a warning, not a threat, but a reminder. Captain Elias Voss's voice echoed through every system, from the core worlds to the outer rim. To those who believe they can rule unchecked, your time is over. To those who seek to enslave, to conquer, to destroy, you will answer to us. We are not invaders. We are not conquerors. We are Deathworlders. And we are watching. The transmission ended, but its impact remained. For the first time in history, the galaxy feared not an empire, not a dictator, but an idea. The idea that someone stronger was watching, that someone would not allow injustice to go unanswered, and that humanity had risen, and nothing could stop them now.